Hey, you guys, you're listening to the Calm Mom podcast. So excited for this episode today. We have Dr. Tara Perry on the show, and we're going to talk about a lot of things that I know you guys are interested in. But one thing in particular that I'm so excited to talk about, and I know it really lights her up too, and she's going to give us, I'm sure it's like all the science and the stories and all the things that I want to know about our subconscious mind. So, Dr. Perry, welcome to the show.
So good to be here with you, Michelle. I love that we have Christmas matching glasses today.
I do. I'm wearing my lime green glasses, and then she showed up with these beautiful red frames. So we're ready. I love it. You have such an interesting background and history. You've done so many things in the mental and physical and emotional and spiritual health spaces. So tell us a little bit about your work and your passion and yourself, and then let's jump in.
Well, I was kind of lucky to get my toe in the door early on. My dad was on the board of the Price Pottenger Foundation, which is the oldest nutritional foundation. So there was no white flour and no white sugar in my house growing up when they thought Twinkies was a vitamin, right? And he was running up and down the lane, because he followed Kenneth Cooper's aerobics and everybody thought he was nuts. He was still downhill skiing at age 87. God bless him.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So I just kind of always knew. And then he had a friend that was in the hospital, and this was a very wealthy friend. And, the friend calls him up and said, my dad's not a doctor, but my dad's just well read and, just tunes into smart people who know what they're doing and have great outcomes, like the Price Pottenger Foundation. And so this friend says, God, I'm in the hospital. I'm jaundiced. They're taking stabs at my liver. They're doing all kinds of stuff to me. And he's like, help, help. And my dad's like, well, he says, well, were you taking any medications before this started? And he said, well, yeah, I was taking blah, blah, blah. Now, this guy had 4 of the top doctors in New York City working on him. He was a multimillionaire, back when that was like a big deal. And my dad goes and pulls his PDR off the shelf, opens it up, and lo and behold, the side effect of this particular medication was jaundice. And the guy's flipping out in his hospital bed going, why are the 4 doctors in New York City, the top guys, not telling me this? Wow. So then he says to my dad, who again is not a doctor, but he says, well, what do I do? And he says, well, it interferes with your gut flora. Why don't you go home and have some really good high quality yogurt? And the guy checks himself out of the hospital, eats the yogurt, the jaundice goes away. So this was the kind of out of the box environment that I grew up in. And I'm just so lucky that that was the case. So after spending a few years in the entertainment business in Hollywood, which was a wonderful experience, I'm really glad I'm not still in it. But I did spend the last 2 years at the most powerful talent agency in Hollywood. Again, great experience. And I'm really glad that I got the calling to go study nutritional medicine and acupuncture. And so I ended up going to China for a year, ended up teaching at UCLA. And then after having done that for about 23 years in Santa Monica and Beverly Hills and Belmont Shore, I had a patient come in who had a very bad trauma background. And she was raving about the stuff that she was doing. And when I found out that it was based in hypnosis, I said, I want to meet your person, because I already knew the 2 top hypnotists in Los Angeles. And I was really impressed with a lot of the science behind it. But I had sessions with both of them, and they were very intelligent, wonderful people. And they gave me good information. But the experience wasn't, didn't rock my world. This rocked my world. Wow. So I dove in and got fascinated with how the subconscious mind, which, as we talked about, your conscious mind is only processing 40 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind is processing 40 million bits of information per second.
We can't even understand how much that is.
Yeah. So if you've got orders in your subconscious mind to do one thing and your conscious mind is trying to go in another, that's why there's so much anxiety and stress. And that's why I love your podcast, because there's so many tools and tricks to tweak and manage the subconscious mind. And it's powerful. We're not going to succeed by fighting against it. We're going to succeed. Actually, one of the domain names I own is Brain Aikido, which Aikido, you don't fight a force. You take the force and you work with it, and then you have it move in the direction that you want. So once I started diving down that wonderfully deep, fabulous rabbit hole and finding every person on the planet that is like the best of the best, and training from them, I just realized that, oh, wow, by going in and finding out what those stressors are in the subconscious mind, and it's usually some form of I'm not good enough, I'm overwhelmed, I don't have the tools to solve the problems at hand, I'm bad, I'm unworthy, I'm not deserving, whatever the story is, it's just a story, it's just a
Yeah.
belief. And the great thing about that is the belief can be rewired.
Yeah.
But because it's below the level of consciousness, that's the definition of subconscious, it's often very tricky to do on your own. There's a lot of great tools out there, and I recommend lots of them. If you can work one-on-one with somebody who can just kind of guide you to where the problem area is and rewire that,
Yeah.
so much the better.
Wow, that's so fascinating. What are some things that people listening would be surprised to understand are actually being completely driven by their subconscious that they're
Oh
not even aware
gosh,
of?
pick
Because
this.
it's,
The list of things that aren't being
yeah,
driven by the subconscious mind is far shorter.
yeah, right.
It's just nuts, and it's such a privilege to be able to do this with people because I've worked with people all across all spectrums of life. High performers, people living in very modest means.
Yeah.
But one gal is a wonderful oral surgeon, and she just didn't feel comfortable asking for money. I know she's so lovely, and people love her, and she's caring, and she's incredibly well educated and does great work. And so we just went back, and it went back to something in childhood where she was doing her homework with her even more brilliant sister, and the father said something disparaging to her, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm not worthy,"
Yeah.
and that got stuck in there for all
Yes.
those years. And all we did was rewire it, and I gave her an audio that just kept those neural pathways from where she currently was to where she wanted to go, strengthening and firing and wiring so that could become her new normal. Left on its own devices, the brain prefers a familiar hell to an unfamiliar heaven.
Mhm.
So the trick is to make hell unfamiliar and heaven familiar. And that
Mhm.
takes a little dedication and a little bit of consistency, like learning a new language or learning to a new sport or going to the gym when your muscles aren't all that strong. It's not complicated. Um, it's not hard, but it does take consistency. So I called her up a couple of months later. I said, "How's that going? Not being, having resolved that issue." And she says, "Oh my gosh, I go home with more energy. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother." And I said, "Dollar wise, what's that worth to your bottom line every month?" She says, "Oh, about $10,000 more a month."
Come on. Big deal.
It's nuts. I've had so many people that had daily panic attacks. I even had one of my doctor friends had somebody who was working with him that had chronic debilitating daily seizures, and
Wow.
like 80% of them went away in just a couple of sessions. So the subconscious mind is just wildly powerful.
Wow. Okay. So talk to me a little bit about the manifestation and physical symptoms and the connection between what's going on in our subconscious mind and either symptoms we're experiencing, sensations we're experiencing, how our thoughts are actually driving what we're perceiving in the natural and in the physical.
Yeah, I love to start with if there are three feelings you would give anything to not feel anymore, what would those be? Because the body's speaking to you through its feelings.
Yeah.
And so if it's stress, if it's anger, where in the body is that hanging out?
Yeah.
How big is it?
Mhm.
What qualities do you notice about it? Is it empty? Is it spinning? Is it tight? Is it, and then I say, what temperature is it? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it, is there a temperature that you notice? If it had a color, what would the color be? So
Yeah.
just kind of getting dialed into, oh, okay, that's what's going on in my body, because
Mhm.
that's how your subconscious mind is speaking to you. And then I say, if we wave a magic wand and those feelings are gone and replaced by three feelings you'd give anything to feel consistently, what would those be? And typically I get things like, calm, bliss,
Yeah.
um, joy. I
Mhm.
had one gal that hadn't slept well for 7 years. Lovely woman.
Mhm.
She had been through regular sleep therapy. It didn't do anything for her. She was only getting 3 to 4 hours a night, which, as that's a big toxic buildup in the brain,
Yeah.
and you really start to feel like you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
We went back and rewired it. She says, "Tara, I don't know how you did this. You didn't even mention the word sleep in the work that we did together. I didn't have to. All I had to do was remove the emotion that was preventing her from sleeping in the first place."
Yeah.
And as a side effect, and that's what's great about natural medicine, when you start to get to the root cause of things, the side effects are good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she was able to experience bliss for the first time in her life. And she's on my podcast, Next Level Healing. Her name's Joanne. Lovely, lovely woman. And it was just fabulous to see what she was able to accomplish in 3 sessions.
Wow. And that's kind of the point I wanted to get to, because I think a lot of times there's women listening who have been struggling with, I mean, you name it, for decades, right? And like our assumption then, I think, is that, well, this is going to be really complicated to heal, or it's going to take
Mm,
forever, right? It took me,
mm.
30 years of this habit to get to this place. Like, it's going to take me forever. And that feels really overwhelming. And then I think the fear cycle kind of perpetuates. Bust that myth for us, and explain to us why that's not true.
I love the saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. It's so crazy powerful how I like to think, I like to suggest that you have a supercomputer that's listening to you, everything that you say, everything that you think. So for God's sake,
Yeah.
start saying and believing positive things. It's like you're going around with mental binoculars. You can either focus on the things that
Yeah.
aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing in life is perfect. It's not going to be. And once you have that perfection, you'll have a new definition of perfection.
The ideal.
So you might as well take the mental binoculars and look at every beautiful thing. Like my meditation teacher said to me once, he said, Tara, do you ever wake up and just be grateful for your breath?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, think about that. Breathing is delicious. And
Hmm.
if, God forbid, we ever get to the point where we can't do it, we're going to really wish we could.
Game over. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, there's just so many delicious little nuggets in every day. And because, this reticular activator system, which is our
Yes.
brain, chopping down our level of awareness,
Hmm.
we can only be aware. I love to say to people, look, we're only, if the visual spectrum is, and I'm holding my hands way apart, but it's just a couple of millimeters of that spectrum. And then the auditory spectrum, and again, I'm holding my hands way apart. It's just a few millimeters of that. So
Yeah.
the chances that you're perceiving reality correctly is like zero.
Yeah.
And then you throw on top of that the reticular activator system, which can only process, I think, 26 bits of information per second. So again, we have this huge chunking down of what we're allowing in.
Yeah.
So we have 2 million new cells coming online every second.
Wow.
Pretend you've got a bullhorn and you're speaking to those cells. What do you want those cells to hear? Like, oh gosh, what am I going to do to get through today? And oh
Right.
my goodness, I really don't like interacting with this person. And wow, I really should. Just pretend you have all these beautiful new things, and they're listening to your marching orders. So make them positive.
Oh, come on. That reminds me of a couple of years ago, I did this experiment with my kids where they like cut an apple in half, and they put each half of an apple into a mason jar, and they separated them in like different area, like rooms of the house. And in one jar, they drew like a big smiley face on the top, and they could only like speak life into that one. And on the other one, they drew like a sad face, and they were like so mean to that apple. They're like, "You are ugly. You're brown. You're," and it was amazing how one apple, like a few weeks later, was like still looked like an apple, the one that we had spoken life into, and then the other one was like nasty and moldy and shriveled up. And you know, the skeptic in me was like, was it warmer here? Did this one get more sunlight? Like was it? And it wasn't. It was like the energy, the energetic power that's coming out of our mouths.
I hope you put that on Instagram.
I'm gonna do it again.
It's brilliant. And they've done studies with water, and, as water is freezing. And if again, you're putting positive, beautiful pictures and thoughts on the water that's freezing, that it makes all these beautiful patterns. And if you speak hate into it, then it just gets ugly. I know, it's crazy. There's a whole book written on that. And most of our body is water. And when we're consuming things like an apple, most of that is water.
Yeah,
So it's crazy how programmable this stuff is.
that's fascinating.
Yeah. And what I am really excited about at kind of this time and place that we're living in is that science is starting to understand this at a much more quantum level. We're starting to get, we're not really 3D.
Right.
We're
Mhm.
spiritual beings having a physical experience,
Yes.
not physical beings having a spiritual experience.
Yes.
And that changes everything too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if anybody out there is listening and they just want to know how to up level their life, start listening to podcasts like Michelle's and, all the other uplifting, amazing resources that are out there, because, and notice the crap that you're taking in. I mean, good
Yes.
God, turn off the news.
Yeah. couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. The filter.
I mean, it's designed to scare you. It's designed to have your eyeballs riveted on the next horrible thing that's ruining your life, and it's designed to sell you all that stuff that's being advertised, in between the
That's right.
segments.
That's right. And you're wiring your brain one way or another, right? So
Hmm.
it's like you're wiring it either toward panic and catastrophe and all these things or what you actually want. Um,
Pretend you're that half an apple, and which jar do
yeah,
you want to
which
be in?
one? Yes, that's so true. I want your take on affirmations because affirmations are something that I think are either misunderstood or people like I don't know, people don't know what they're doing or they're like, I say this to myself in the mirror every day and I don't even believe it and like whatever. I don't
I'm
even understand it myself.
so
So
glad
tell
you
me
asked this
about it.
question. Yeah, so glad you asked this question. So, when people reach out to me, my website is consultera.com. There's a Let's Talk button. I have a slide deck that I walk people through, and one of the pictures is a big fish eating up little small fish.
Okay.
And the big fish is that belief that's swimming around in the subconscious mind, and it's
Mm.
I'm worthy, I'm not good enough, other people can get solutions, I can't.
Mm.
It's all those limiting beliefs. And then the little fish are those positive affirmations, which we're so desperately hoping grow up to be big fish, but they can't because the big fish is swimming around eating them up.
That's such a great visual.
Yeah. So, you have to really make it believable to the subconscious mind, and whatever it takes to do that.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza. They did a very, very clever study where they're starting to show that you can actually manufacture certain. You can manufacture. They call the subconscious mind or the mind the world's greatest pharmacy because you can manufacture substances in your brain without taking them exogenously. And they've done very, very clever experiments where they had and they're doing it all double blinded. I mean, this is not woo woo. This is
Yeah.
being published in
Amazing.
medical journals now. So they did this very, very clever one where they had 5 molecules, and for the control group, they made 3 of them fake.
Okay.
And to put a further twist in it, they knew because these were all Joe Dispenza people that they were all aware of one molecule called serpin A5. So if you're an advanced meditator, good news is you're going to have more serpin A5 in your blood. And what does serpin A5 do? It sits around the outside of the cell and it prevents bad guys from getting inside the cell.
Wow.
So they did studies with COVID and found that if you didn't meditate at all, COVID went right in. If you were a medium meditator, it kind of hung around the outside. If you're an advanced meditator, it just doesn't even go in.
Wow.
And at first, they didn't know what was preventing the COVID from getting in, and then they did isolate this serpin A5 protein. But your body is just this amazing, wise chemical factory,
Yeah.
and it will take instructions from you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important that everything that you're doing each and every day, from what you're thinking, what you're saying to yourself, to others, how you're treating other people, how you're treating yourselves, how you're treating your community, the people you hang out with. I mean, it's just, and the good news also is that you only need to get 1% better each and every day. And then by the end of the year, that's all compounded on itself. And you're not 365% better by the end of the year. You're 37 times better by the end of the year.
Incredible.
So this does not take, you don't have to, scale large mountains every single day.
Yeah.
Just scale little ones.
Yeah. 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 As long as your trajectory is on course, right? It's a little.
Right. And if you take a rocket ship to the moon, you're going to be off course most of the time. It's
Mhm.
course correction, course correction, course correction. But that's part of living in 3D. It's like, well, what's working for me? Do more of that. What's not
Yeah.
working for me? Stop doing that. And you're a beautiful example of that, Michelle. You looked around your life and you thought, okay, my life is busy. It's chaotic and I'm going to sell stuff and hit the road and spend quality time with my family. And I mean, bravo. And those aren't the type of things you tend to regret.
Hmm. No, they're not. And that was part of the big driving force too. I'm like, I'm not going to regret. I know I'm not going to regret this, right? There's just things you're not going to regret. Um, Part of what I love so much about this work too is that it's just an affirmation that we have everything that we need. Like we're perfectly wired and created, and it's just a matter of like, so instead of becoming, it's actually like so much unbecoming, right? It's like lifting off the layers and like grinding away all the crap that we've just like allowed to pile on, because everything we need to feel our best and do the big beautiful things we want to do, like we have the capacity, we just need to discover it in these beautiful ways you teach.
Yeah, and it's almost like we learned somewhere along the way that we're not okay,
Yeah.
that things aren't available to us, and that's the stuff that
Mm.
needs to be unwound.
Yeah, for so true. I want to talk about anxiety for a little bit because a lot of
Mhm.
our audience listens to the show because something that they struggle with. And we talk a lot about anxiety being a body based issue. But we know that, our thoughts have a huge impact on the physiological response that then is, put into action. So teach us a little bit about if someone's listening and they struggle with anxiety, talk to them and what are some good practices they could start to incorporate.
So, some basics with anxiety. If your blood sugar is all over the place,
Mm.
you want to eat healthy food. I'm a huge fan of the farmer's market. I like getting to know your local farmer. We have so much chemicals in the food these days. If you have a label and you don't recognize the ingredients, I wouldn't put it in your body. Eat healthy stuff that looks like it came from nature and you know where it came from.
Yeah, it's good.
Drink a good amount of water. Move the physical body. We're not designed to sit. Sitting is the new smoking, and there's studies that show the longer you're sitting, hour after hour, you have more issues of chronic illnesses going up. So grounding, being out in nature.
Yeah.
I don't think we're designed to live in little cardboard boxes
Mhm.
away from the sun.
Right.
Morning
Or a
sun is
sunlight.
huge.
Yeah.
Andrew Huberman has studied that a lot.
Yes.
And then just who are the people that you're around? Do they
Mhm.
uplift you? Do you feel safe around them? Are you inspired by them? Creativity is another one. I just read about that this morning. Creatives are like 35% less depressed. So just by cranking in a little creativity, we're kind of designed to be creative. You see little kids, they're always like inventing new things,
Yes.
and we lost that as we grew up, a lot of us.
Oh,
Um, for people that have really been struggling with something for a long time, if you can work one on one with somebody who knows what they're doing, I'm a huge fan of that. Again, they are welcome to go to my website,
mhm.
consulttara.com, just click the button, answer some questions to get some clarity, like how long have you been struggling with this? What does it mean to you to solve it?
Mhm.
Just those clarity questions are important. I do give a half hour consultation and evaluation to see if they're a good fit. And I'm more than happy to give out resources if I feel like somebody's a better fit somewhere else or there's a better resource for them. I'm
Yeah.
so happy to offer that. And I also do things sometimes in conjunction with my work. For example,
Mhm.
I love Dr. Joe's Advanced Progressive Bundle. It kind of teaches you how your brain works and helps you with meditation. So a lot of my people are doing that simultaneously.
Okay.
But again, if you really want to get fast results, working with somebody who knows what they're doing to kind of take you in, find out what have you been struggling with. I get the craziest things. One gal, had trauma. I've had a lot of people had early childhood trauma.
Yeah.
So it could be in utero. Mom didn't want them.
Yeah.
They'll actually go back to being in utero. I've had people that had repeated traumas when they were very, very young. I had
Mhm.
one gal that had horrible medical trauma when she was a baby. So she had all this learned helplessness. And she's beautiful and she does movement therapy at UCLA.
Mhm.
Very, very accomplished young woman. She had done 4 years of some of the cutting edge advanced therapy at the University of Santa Monica, which is a fantastic program. But in just 3 sessions, she was able to resolve so much
Wow.
more quickly. She was able to experience, she called it huge amounts of love and like she was walking on clouds. And this interview took place over a year after I had stopped working with her. So these were lasting results.
Yeah.
This wasn't like a momentary feel good thing. So her name is Mandy, and she's on my podcast channel as well. But it's uh, if you're struggling with something over and over again and you've tried the basics,
Mhm.
it's not getting you to where you want to go, consider reaching out and getting some additional help. And there's
Yeah.
lots of help out there.
That's right. Um, I want to talk about trauma for a second because I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who can identify, right, a moment or a situation and point what the things that they're experiencing or the ways that they're thinking back to a particular event. And I also think that there's so many people who are like, but I had a really good childhood or nothing really bad happened to me and are still struggling with a lot of these same things. Talk to us about that.
So you know what's crazy? I recently worked with a guy that got 100 on his military PTSD scores, and he had been through all of what the VA offered. He was gifted my program from a relative,
Wow.
and he was still having panic attacks. He still wasn't able to focus on his work. And after 2 sessions, he says it can't be this easy because he wasn't having his panic attacks anymore. He was able to focus. And I'm like, well, yeah, it actually can be. So again, it's not so much what happens to us, it's our interpretation of that
Yes.
event, ourselves, the world, and other people. That's the thing that ends up getting us. So
Yeah.
two people can go through the same traumatic event, and I
Yeah.
put that in air quotes, and one person can go, oh, I am an incredibly strong, resilient,
Mhm.
able person. Look how I've turned this around to my benefit. The other person can go, oh, I'm damaged. I'll never be okay. How
Yeah.
can I ever recover from this? I also just recently had a gal on my podcast who was having horrible PTSD, horrible amounts of fear, dealing with a really difficult life situation. And again, in just 3 sessions, she was going, "Wow, this is a game changer." Um, and again, I'm so humbled and thankful to be able to work with these amazing people, and
Yeah.
everybody's amazing. It's so crazy. Some of the people who are struggling with the sense of unworthiness are some of the most worthy people.
It's funny
They
how
are
that happens, huh?
they're the kindest. They'll give you the shirt off their back.
Yeah.
They're honest as the day is long. I
Mhm.
mean, they're exactly the kind of person that you would want to be your doctor, lawyer, accountant,
Yeah.
and they just, in their minds, they're just not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because somewhere, usually between the ages of 2 and 10, something happened, and it can be stupid.
Yeah.
It can be really stupid, but because of that event,
Yeah.
and different people have different levels of, some people are kind of tough, and some people are kind of sensitive, and some
Yeah.
people are kind of this. So again, it doesn't matter what happened to you. It's the interpretation of yourself, the world, and other people that got fired and wired in there, a clear thought and a strong emotion. And then that cycle just goes around and around and around and around and around. And it takes energy and clear thought to break that.
Wow. Okay. Um, I want you to talk to the parents, if you would, for a moment, because as you're talking about so much of this, just being like the origin is in our early childhood years.
Mm-hmm.
And as parents, I think sometimes that can feel like a heavy
Mm.
burden because we're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like I had my oldest is like a high sensitivity, deep feeler. She's 7. And lately, since this big move, this girl has just gotten so antsy. Like I'm trying to put her to bed and she's like bouncing off the walls and doing flips and everything. And like I got frustrated the other night. And I was like, just can you just lay down while I read to you? And then I went to see her in her room after. She's like, Mom, how come like her sister, how come she can just lay down and I can't? Like, am I broken? What's wrong with me? And I was like, I had that moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, did I just like fundamentally like break something in her that she's going to be dealing with, and healing from in adulthood. But talk to those parents because I'm sure we've all had moments like that where we've snapped or
So,
yeah,
in that situation, I would say something like, well, you know how, like, in the forest, there's like deer and they're really good at jumping, and
mm,
owls can see really good at night, and everybody's got a different skill level. I would say, well, you just probably have a different skill level than your sister, or your brother, your body takes a little longer to go to sleep. So
yeah,
make it, you can always turn something around and make it, they're special, they're okay. And of course, if you have an issue, it's always the behavior that you address. You never
yeah,
say, "Oh, you're stupid, you're lazy." I mean,
yeah,
um, just put yourself in in their little shoes, and how can you spin it in such a way that they can be, okay and special and good, and you
yeah,
know, failure is another thing that our schools, gosh, we teach them that failure is a bad thing. I love Robert Kiyosaki's point of view on these things. Failure is essential.
yes,
The gal that started Spanx,
yeah.
why do I always draw a name? What is her name?
Now I'm drawing
But
a blank too.
yeah. I know she's great. But her father conditioned her to go out and fail on the
That's right.
weekend. And if they didn't have a story at the
Yeah,
dinner
they had to
table
recruit.
about what they failed at, he was
Yeah.
disappointed
Yeah.
because you didn't try hard enough if you didn't go out and fail.
Sarah
So
Blakely.
our schools teach, oh, Sarah Blakely, thank you.
Yeah.
Our schools teach that you can't, you're supposed to do everything by yourself. You don't do it with other people. Well, that's a huge strikeout because
Yeah.
in life, your ability to
Yes.
succeed, you're a successful lawyer, is largely how you operate with other people.
And our social nervous system, like to be regulated, we need to have meaningful connection with people.
Yeah. So school trains a lot of that out, which is a shame. And
Yeah.
then to inculcate the idea that failure is bad is so upside down, because we want to go out, we want to fail, we want to condition our bodies that, and if you have to just do a checklist, okay, I attempted this and, I failed. Great.
It's
What
so
did you
good.
learn? Well, I learned that I don't really like this kind of thing and I prefer this kind of thing. Or,
Yeah.
I learned I could do it better the next time, or, whatever. But
Yeah.
you learned something.
That's right. It's kind of same but different. The last like year, I've been saying this thing to myself that only good things happen to me. And it's a similar idea, right? It's like in the moment, it might not feel like a good thing. And it might feel really hard or really painful or really unfair or whatever it is. But man, I know that once I get a little distance and perspective, only good things happen to me.
And when you walk around with that patterning, that programming, your brain goes, "Oh, okay, only good things happen to us." So it's looking around for it, and it will find it. You'll attract it.
Yeah, I believe that. I've seen it. It's been awesome. Here I am.
And the
Give it a
reverse
shot.
also, like, why do bad things always happen to me? Oh my goodness, don't say that. Or I love these 35-year-olds who get sore knees one day and they're like, "Oh, this is what it's like to get old." No. Do not say
No.
that. Say my body is a super healing machine. I love that, I've got 40 trillion cells that are getting younger and more vibrant every second of every day. You know,
Yes.
I
Yes.
interviewed Ellen Langer. She's the gal the tenured professor at Harvard who does all these studies. I mean, it's crazy what you can convince your body to do.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So much power. So much power. This has been fascinating. So thank you so much for
Oh,
the
it's
work
been an
that you're doing.
absolute pleasure to meet you, Michelle. I love what you're doing for people.
Thank you. Let the people know where they can. I'm sure there are people listening that are like, I need more of her. I need to experience this for myself. Where can they find you and
I'm
continue?
on Instagram at Dr. Tara Perry. You can also go to consulttara.com, nashvillehealer.com. It'll get you to the same place. Click the Let's Talk button if you are serious about wanting to work one-on-one with somebody to just kind of resolve that old issue that's been around forever. And we can meet for a 30-minute Zoom call and just see if you're a good fit.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you. Thanks.
Oh, and my podcast, Next Level Healing.
Yes. Uh,
I'm actually thrilled. I've had amazing, amazing guests on, and it just thrills me no end to be able to share their stories with you. I just had Joe Vitale on. He's the known as he's written 93 books. I mean, you want to talk about high performer.
wow. Beautiful.
Um, and we discussed the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is that Hawaiian prayer that is just incredibly powerful. He helped he healed a whole section of a ward of the criminally insane without ever meeting these people, and he did it through prayer.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to read that. That's incredible.
I
And
will send it to you, Michelle. I will
yes,
send you the interview.
oh wow, I'm gonna link all of this in the show notes for you guys so you can find it easily. I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful we've connected, and I'm grateful you've made the time to pour into our audience. And me, I'm walking away with a greater appreciation for my subconscious mind and awareness of it in its own tiny little way that I know can make such a difference. So thanks for being with us today.
You're doing great work, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Oh, so good. Let's see if I can hit stop here on my lap.